Hi guys, it's me, HD, and welcome to this race reaction stream for the Grand Prix that, of course, has just finished the 2021 Qatar Grand Prix. And literally, we're going live, a minute after the race actually has finished. So we are live literally as soon as possible. And I have to say, given that of what I saw from Friday of the track layout and the way the track was, I thought, honestly, coming into this race, we would have a boring Grand Prix. That was actually pretty good, considering the layout of the track. It wasn't a great race. It wasn't as good as what we had in Brazil last weekend. But I thought that was a pretty good Grand Prix. And we have some very interesting results as well in this Grand Prix. So, just want to say, hopefully you guys are doing well. Of course, this is my first stream of the weekend. I said that I was going to be basically, last weekend I said I was going to be, taking this weekend off basically, except for this stream. But yeah, hopefully you guys are doing well. Hopefully you enjoyed today's race, and make sure as well in the live chat, and I'll make sure to read it at some point. Let me know who was your driver of the day today. I think we're all going to go for one man. And also give me a rating out of 10 for what you thought of the race in terms of excitement. I would probably give it a 6 to a 6.5, maybe a 7 at the absolute most. I'm probably going to say a 6 for this race. Like I said, it was a decent race, not a great race, but definitely not a boring race. Not like we had in Mexico, for example, a fortnight ago. But yeah, hopefully you guys are doing well no matter what part of the world you're from, no matter what time it is in your part of the world. Hopefully you're having the best day you could possibly be having. So let's first get into the race results. Now, I don't have the graphic from Twitter as to what the actual race results and what the gaps and all between the cars are, but I can show it, of course, on the left-hand side of the screen. So Lewis Hamilton wins the 2021 Qatar Grand Prix. Max Verstappen finishes in second. Got to say, Verstappen did pretty well to get through up to second as quickly as he did, considering he had a 5-place grid penalty for going too quickly onto double-waved yellow flags, I believe, in qualifying. But Max Verstappen takes home the fastest lap point, so the gap in the championship at the top, I believe, is 8 points between Hamilton and Verstappen, of course, in Max's favour with 2 races to go. Fernando Alonso in third place. That has got to be one of the best drives of the season, and he is my driver of the day without a doubt. And that is I'm so happy with that result. I wanted Fernando not only when he came back. I wanted him not only to show glimpses of that speed. I mean, he's not going to be right up there fighting for podiums and victories all the time because, of course, he's not in a car consistently good enough to do it. But I was hoping with this type of season we've had, where it's been very exciting and unusual in certain circumstances, I was hoping that Fernando, on one of these days where, a couple of the top cars are in, or, not in their usual positions, like Perez and Bottas were, as we'll get onto them in a moment, that Fernando, in those types of races, could capitalise. And thankfully today he did, had a great qualifying session, qualifying in 5th place, and he thoroughly deserved 3rd place in this race today. He was very, 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 very good. And thankfully for Alpine, he got that result because, as we'll get onto in a moment, that essentially guarantees, I think, them finishing 5th in the Constructors' Championship. Sergio Perez finishing in P4, and then Ocon 5th, and that's why I say Alpine, I think, have now guaranteed that they're going to finish 5th in the Constructors, because we've only got 2 races to go now, and Alpine have a 25-point lead over AlphaTauri for 5th, and I don't think AlphaTauri will get 25 or more points between now and the end of the season. And then you got Lance Stroll in P6. I'm not quite sure how Lance Stroll was so good today. We'll get onto that in a moment. Carlos Sainz in P7, Charles Leclerc P8, Norris P9, and Vettel in P10. So those are your top 10 point scorers. And then the rest of the order, the drivers who finished but did not finish in the points: Gasly, Ricciardo, Tsunoda, Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, Schumacher, Russell, Mazepin. And your only retirements: Nicholas Latifi and Valtteri Bottas. Latifi and Bottas retiring for the exact same reason. And of course, we'll get onto that in a moment. But yeah, like I said, decent Grand Prix. And yeah, let me know, guys, in the live chat what you thought of the race. Again, rating out of 10 for the race, and let me know as well your driver of the day for this Grand Prix. But we'll start, of course, with the world champions and a team that very well could be world champions at the end of this season as well. Mercedes-Benz. And we'll start with Lewis Hamilton quickly. I mean, his lap in qualifying yesterday, I know Max and Valtteri were compromised because of the yellow flag situation, but Lewis was going to get pole position. And his lap yesterday was just one of those laps that, again, proves that Lewis Hamilton is the greatest racing driver of all time. And at the moment, there is no debate, I think, as to whether that is, whether that is what he is. And today's race, I mean, I know Max Verstappen did have front wing damage, but to be honest, even if Max Verstappen did not have that damage, I mean, I think Verstappen would have been close to a certain extent, but the way Hamilton's been driving this weekend, I think Hamilton still would have won the race because he has been at his absolute top level this weekend. And I think really since the defeat in Mexico, Hamilton since then has almost made a commitment to himself of, right, I'm going to give it absolutely everything I have into these final 4 races to win the championship, because that's what he had to do if he was going to, win his 8th world title. And coming out of Mexico, coming into the the Sao Paulo Grand Prix after the sprint race, Max was 21 points clear. And now, 7 or 8 days later, the gap's now down to 8 points. And with 2 races to go, and given how Hamilton has been in the last couple races, I wouldn't say he's the favourite, but he definitely has the momentum on his side. He definitely has the momentum, and yeah, today's race he was so quick, so consistently quick, and congratulations to him for getting a very, very important win to keep that momentum going into the final couple races. And quickly, we'll get on to Valtteri Bottas, and yeah, he did not have a good race today. He started in P7, was it? No, P6, because of his grid penalty for also speeding under yellow flags. Then had a really poor start, dropped down to P11, I think 5 places. And then struggled at times to get through the field as quickly as really he should have been getting through the field. Did eventually get up to 3rd, and it looked as though that Valtteri Bottas was going to be on a clear one-stop strategy and was going to go onto the hard compound tyre and probably be around 3rd and 4th place and very close to a podium, I think, at the end. Hard to say whether he would have beaten Fernando Alonso because Bottas's pace wasn't actually that great today, but he definitely would have been in that fight with Alonso and Perez for the final podium position. But then, towards the end of his first stint of the Grand Prix, his left front tyre failed, and then came back into the pits, put on a new set of tyres, didn't really get any further up the field, and then they decided to retire his car, probably to save on any more wear on the power unit, because of course they need Valtteri to play a factor in the final 2 races in Saudi and in Abu Dhabi as well. So yeah, disappointing for Bottas. He was looking very, very good in practice, and then qualifying doesn't go well, gets the penalty, and then the race is even worse. So a shame for him, but it tends to be the way he is at the moment in race weekends. But back to Lewis Hamilton, yeah, great victory for him. Mercedes are now, how many points clear of Red Bull? I think 5 or 6 points clear. Still very, very close. I think Mercedes do still have the lead there. Perez finishing 4th and Max finishing 2nd with the fastest lap means that they outscore Mercedes by 6 points. So that's good for Red Bull against Mercedes. Mercedes, though, I would say at the moment are looking the favourites, I think, for the Constructors' Championship. The reason I say that is because I think as a combo, Hamilton and Bottas look a bit quicker at the moment on, say, single lap pace, and I think that could help them a lot in the final couple races. And it looks as though at the moment the Mercedes are quicker. Certainly in qualifying trim. And of course, around tracks where it's not as easy to overtake, that does help a lot. So, yeah, I think Mercedes and the Constructors, it is still close, but I think Mercedes will probably just about get the Constructors' Championship. But in the Drivers' Championship, as we'll go on to Red Bull now, it is still looking very, very close. And Max Verstappen, even though he finished in P2 today and had the slight end plate damage to his front wing, maybe could have really pushed Hamilton today for victory. Who knows, without that damage. But I think considering how Hamilton has been this weekend and that Max had a 5-place penalty, I don't think Max honestly should be that disappointed that he finished in second place. And he's got the fastest lap point, which might be very, very important in, 3 weeks from now at the conclusion of the final race of the season. That's how close we are now to the final Grand Prix of 2021. So I don't think Max should be, like I said, that disappointed, because it could have been worse today. Definitely could have been worse. If Bottas did not have such a poor start and Bottas didn't have his tyre failure, then you never know what could have happened there. Verstappen might have been suffering against Valtteri Bottas, because Mercedes, like I said, they have looked pretty quick this weekend. But yeah, second place, not too bad. I'm just hoping that Verstappen internally, inside his own head, is not getting too down about it, because even though, yes, he has finished in P2 in the last 2 races and Hamilton has finished in P1, he still has the lead of the championship, and that is the most important thing, because Hamilton is having to, what he's doing at the moment, being at a all-time great level and showing amazing levels of speed to get pole position and, win the last 2 races. Hamilton's having to be at that level just to get that, and Verstappen is still performing very well and, getting in second place. So as long as Max keeps, doing what he's doing and keeps pushing Hamilton, that's the most important thing in the final 2 races. Let's say Hamilton is quicker and ahead, at least in qualifying. Max has to make sure he keeps pushing Hamilton to the very, very end, so that if there is a drop-off from Mercedes in terms of pace in a certain Grand Prix, or Hamilton makes a mistake, or there's a tyre failure, you never know, that Max then can sweep up after Hamilton, and then that'll probably be, championship done, really, for Max Verstappen. Just needs to make sure, like I said, he keeps the pressure on Hamilton. Hamilton at the moment looking as though he has the momentum, but he can't allow Hamilton to, continue that in such an easy fashion, I think, going into the final 2 races. But yeah, Max Verstappen, good race today. Sergio Perez, I thought, despite what happened in qualifying where his pace was poor, and it was a very shocking result, to be honest, for Sergio Perez, when really he had to be a lot higher up on the grid for Red Bull's sake. I thought in the race today he drove well. I thought he drove actually really well. The problem is Red Bull put him on a very poor strategy today, I have to say. First pit stop was too early. They pitted him way too early. Should have left him out longer to close up to Fernando Alonso, of course, who was his main rival for that podium in the end. And yeah, just pitted him way too early. Should have waited probably another 5 laps at least before pitting him. And then when they pitted him for the second time, they pitted him too late. They gave him too many laps. Oh, sorry, they gave him not enough laps to catch the big gap it was to Fernando Alonso. I know it was only, 2.5 seconds, the gap between Alonso and Perez by the end. But, with, 4 or 5 laps to go, it was like 9 seconds or something like that. And the reason the gap closed is not because Perez was necessarily much quicker. It's because, he was quicker, Perez, but he was... Alonso was having to stay off the curbs to make sure he saved his left front tyre from a possible tyre delamination. So I think Red Bull, like I said, they put him on a strategy that wasn't really good enough. Didn't go long enough on the first stint to really close up to Alonso enough in that first stint. And then not enough time he was given to finish in 3rd place. Still did pretty well to close the gap to what it was. But yeah, Perez, not exactly helped by his team there. But Red Bull, 31 points for them. 25 for Mercedes, closing in the Constructors' Championship. And going into Saudi Arabia, it's looking now the championship very, very close and pretty much impossible to say, I think, at this point, who is going to win the championship, with it being 8 points between Lewis and Max. And it's going to come down to, I think it's definitely going to go down to the final race in Abu Dhabi, this championship for sure. I think, I mean, of course, if Hamilton was to retire from the next Grand Prix and Verstappen was to win, then Max could then be world champion, I think after the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix, because he'd then be too far in the lead of the championship. But yeah, for going into Saudi, it's looking very, very close. And I think from Max Verstappen's point of view, like I said, just needs to keep the pressure on. And if Hamilton is still quicker in Saudi Arabia, then, just make sure that he is making Hamilton have to beat him, if you know what I mean. Which is kind of a cliche, I guess, term from football where, don't just roll over and let your opposition do what they want and, get the result they want. Push them as hard as possible. And if they still win, then fair play. That's what Max Verstappen and Red Bull have to do in the final couple races. And for Hamilton, he just needs to make sure that he keeps doing what he's doing and pushes Verstappen and Red Bull to the edge and, forces that pressure and that championship to go down to the final race. Now, in a moment, I will move on to the not final couple of teams, the next couple of teams, and then I'll come to you guys in the chat. Just going to quickly mute the microphone a moment just to deal with something. Just I'll be back in a moment. Anyway, we'll now move on to the next two teams. Sorry, just someone outside my door was playing very loud music. It was distracting me. Anyway, we'll move on to McLaren now, who had a very poor result, you have to say, for this Grand Prix. Looking actually really good for them. Norris was up in 4th place, and there was a possibility that if Norris did not have to pit late on, which I think that pit stop was because maybe I think McLaren started dropping pressure on the tyres and maybe thought he was going to have a tyre failure as well. Of course, Norris had gone very long on his tyres. So I think, maybe that's why they decided to pit Lando there. But they were heading for a good result. Even if Perez got past him, it still would have been P5 and Ferrari would have been, 8th and 9th. So it would have been a gain of 4 points on Ferrari. But Norris having that pit stop and finishing down in 9th pretty much now guarantees that Ferrari are going to finish 3rd in the Constructors, because Ferrari in this race have scored 10 points and McLaren only scored 2. So yeah, Ferrari have pretty much now got 3rd place in the Constructors. Shame for McLaren. That Lando, I have to say, drove very well this weekend, considering where his teammate was and considering that I don't actually think the McLaren was that quick this weekend. I think the AlphaTauri and Alpine cars and teams really were looking in better shape this weekend, but he was still able to put it in the top 6 in qualifying. He started the race from P4, got a good start, and I thought he had a good race up until that point, of course, where he had to pit very late on, which is such a shame. But if he was going to have a puncture anyway, then I think they really saved his bacon there. When it comes to him finishing in P9, because if he had a puncture, Norris, he probably would not have even finished in the points. He probably would have finished down in 15th or 16th place. So yeah, I think 2 points coming away from this Grand Prix, considering that it was probably going to be a puncture for Lando there, was a bit of a save. But like I said, it guarantees now that Ferrari will beat McLaren in the Constructors' Championship. Daniel Ricciardo, P12, poor race weekend as well. I don't know what it is about the track that, meant Daniel was so poor, but he was poor this weekend for sure, was Daniel Ricciardo. Did have some fans in the crowd cheering him on. Of course, Australia is not as far away from Qatar as it is for other tracks, but yeah, Ricciardo was very, very poor today, and McLaren have really dropped off compared to Ferrari in the last few races, and another sign of it really in the results. And McLaren heading for 4th in the Constructors' Championship. With Ferrari, P7 and P8, I have to say, their race I didn't actually think was that great, considering you had Carlos Sainz in a a decent grid position, considering that I think Bottas and Verstappen's penalties, it was a decent grid position. Charles Leclerc, I thought, recovered well from his poor qualifying that was caused by a crack in his chassis. So that's why he qualified down in 13th to Charles Leclerc. So I thought Leclerc did well and probably would have finished ahead of Carlos Sainz if he had not had that crack in his chassis from Saturday qualifying. Probably would have been up in 5th or 6th place at the end of this Grand Prix because he was right on the back of his teammate at the end there. But yeah, not a great race. I mean, they weren't able to pass Lance Stroll by the end, which is a bit of a surprise because Ferrari have been lately much quicker. Not just quicker, much quicker than Aston Martin. And with Ocon, I mean, maybe they'll be a bit disappointed about that. But then again, Alpine have been very quick this weekend. So maybe Alpine had them anyway this weekend on pace and on result. But yeah, I think Ferrari, despite not maybe having the absolute best result they could have gotten out of this race, probably could have, like I said, done better against Lance Stroll. All they had to do was outscore McLaren, and that's what they've done. So Ferrari, like I said, heading for 3rd place in the Constructors' Championship, and that would be a good season for the Scuderia. And hopefully, of course, next season we see them continuing to improve. But before, guys, I get on to the rest of the midfield teams and get on, of course, to the championship standings at the end of this stream. Also, make sure to stick around for the end of this stream because I will get into what the content schedule is going to be for the final 2 races of the season. So yeah, make sure to stick around to the end. But yeah, make sure right now in the chat to post your comments about the front 4 teams in Formula 1 and how you thought they got on today. Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, Ferrari, or Ferrari, McLaren, of course. With Ferrari up in 3rd. And again, if you haven't let me know already, let me know who your driver of the day is or what you rate this race out of 10 for. But before you guys do that, if anyone is here that is new to the channel, then don't forget to subscribe for more content like this because there will be much more content coming in December, of course, for the final 2 races, and I'll have a couple pieces of content coming out, hopefully, between the final race and Christmas. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there, or go to my channel page and do it there. And whilst you're there, hit the notifications bell as well. Smash the like button and share this video and channel everywhere you can. It does help, of course, the channel grow. But yeah, we'll get on to your comments now. Great to see you guys in chat. Hello to you all. Super Kev says Fred is the driver of the day. I'm pretty sure he means Alonso. And says, yeah, Fred is back. And says 7 out of 10 he thinks for the race. Josiah says 7 out of 10 for the race. Rooksfoot saying Fernando. Mika says, I personally think the championship is over. Mercedes are too quick. Hamilton should win the next 2 and the title. Mercedes, yeah, the last couple races, Mercedes have been certainly in qualifying trim quicker, but I think with this race this weekend, because Max had that front wing damage, end plate damage, that definitely affected him, because in the middle sector, he was losing quite a bit of time to Hamilton, where, of course, having a bit more front grip would have helped Max Verstappen against Lewis Hamilton. So I wouldn't say that Mercedes in all aspects, you know, qualifying and race pace are better than Red Bull. Yes, Hamilton, very good today. But because Verstappen had that damage, hard to say whether, you know, would Verstappen have closed the gap and challenged Hamilton for victory today? It's hard to say. Very hard to say. We'll see in the final 2 races whether Red Bull can do anything. I still think Red Bull have a better car race pace-wise compared to Mercedes. And I think if Max had a completely healthy car today without that end plate damage, I don't think he would have won, but I think he would have been a lot closer to Hamilton in this race. And I think would have really pushed Hamilton to the end with, you know, the pit stop phases and really being close to Hamilton during those phases. And I think, yeah, he would have been a lot closer there. And I still think, like I said, that Red Bull have a better race car. And I still think in the final 2 races that even if Mercedes are quicker in qualifying, Max, I still think, has the talent, and the Red Bull car is definitely good enough to get up in second place, for example, on the grid, even if Hamilton, say, is on pole and looking quicker in qualifying. But like I said, I think in the races, those final 2 races, I think Red Bull are still absolutely good enough to get the job done. And remember, Max doesn't have to be, or, Red Bull don't have to be quicker than Mercedes necessarily. Clearly quicker than Mercedes, I'm trying to say. Because in, say, Saudi Arabia, Hamilton gets pole and Max is second. If Max stays, 2.5 or 2 seconds behind, something like that, around one of the pit stop phases at that Grand Prix, and even though it's close on lap time and there's no clearly quicker team, if Red Bull just get it right in the key moments, such as a pit stop, or say on the first lap of a Grand Prix, or the Grand Prix, the next Grand Prix in Saudi Arabia, if Max was to get into the lead or something like that, that's all Max really needs to do to probably win the championship. Because if Max, for example, wins not next weekend, but if he wins the next Grand Prix in Saudi Arabia, and Lewis finishes second, the gap would go up to at least 14 points, meaning that Max could finish, I think, in 4th place in Abu Dhabi and still win the championship. It would be level on points at the very end of the season if that was to happen, if Max was to win the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix and Lewis was to finish second and Max was to not have the fastest lap in Saudi, but Hamilton got the fastest lap there and in Abu Dhabi, and Hamilton won in Abu Dhabi and Max finished in 4th place. Yes, it would finish a level on points, but Max would win the championship because Max, I think, has more race wins this season. So that's all Max has to do. 1st place and 4th place in the final 2 races, and he's world champion. Just needs to get that victory. If he gets it in the next Grand Prix, then I think Max is probably champion, unless something dramatic happens in the final race. If he gets the podium, though, let's say even 3rd place in the Saudi Grand Prix, then Hamilton probably then goes into the final race with a couple point lead, but I still don't think Max would then be out of contention or anything like that. And I would still say that for Max Verstappen, it is still looking good for him. It is still looking good for him, because like I said, if he wins the next Grand Prix, then all he has to do is finish ahead of all of the midfield runners in Abu Dhabi, and he'll be champion. That's it. So, the next Grand Prix, I think, could very well decide the championship, because, like I said, if Verstappen gets the win, then Hamilton's going to have to hope Max suffers a massive issue. Craig says, "Hey Kaz, hope you are well." Yeah, I'm doing well. Been where you have been. It all gets better, buddies. Life goes on. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate that massively. Mika says, "The punctures were annoying to me. Pirelli said hards could do 40 laps. The tyres gave up 30 laps in." In Bottas's case, Mercedes did go too long on the mediums, but on the hards, completely agree. The tyres should have gone longer. Hello to Dexter, by the way. Blue Flag Alpha says Mercedes looking like they're coming back to win. Mika also saying McLaren has fallen away quite dramatically. Craig, let me see what he's saying. Are Mercedes not cheating by giving another new engine to Lewis in the last few races? I think 5-place penalty is pathetic in this case. I know Max was saying that, I think, coming into this weekend, that, the penalty for a new IC, I think it goes down in terms of the amount of position penalty you take if you get to a certain point in the season, which I don't necessarily agree with, but at the end of the day, those are the rules. And I think if Hamilton wins the championship, I don't think it'll be because of that. I think there's definitely other factors behind if Hamilton wins the championship. TJ saying, I still think Max has a 2/3 chance. I agree, but I disagree. I think because the lead is only 8 points, I'm not sure you could say that's a 2/3 chance. If it was 12 points or more right now, then I'd say, yeah, he has a 2/3 chance. But because it's 8 points, it feels a bit more like a 55-45 or a 60-40 in favour of Verstappen. Waltz Chen says Mercedes needs new engine in next race. Too much degradation. Red Bull is catching up. We'll see if that is the case. JJ says it is still 50-50. 8 points in the Drivers' Championship and 5 in the Constructors between Mercedes and Red Bull. I still think, like I said, in the Drivers, I think Max is still the slight favourite going into the final 2 races because Lewis has to win the final 2 races, basically, to give himself a chance. Unless Max has an issue in one of the final 2 races. Lewis has to win both of them. Max doesn't. I think that's what keeps Max for me as the slight favourite. Astro Stevo, missing your race watch alongs, Chaz. Glad you're doing okay. Cheers for that, mate. Of course, I didn't do a race watch along this weekend because, like I said, after I took about a month off from it, felt, honestly, looking back, it was kind of a slight bit of burnout, probably. It was a lot more to do with something else going on in my personal life, to be honest, as to the reason why I took a break for a month. But the new schedule of, not doing, qualifying, practice and race watch along streams every Grand Prix weekend, I think will actually benefit me and the channel long term, especially considering that next year will be the longest F1 season of all time. So, yeah, I think it's going to benefit me health-wise. I think, like I said, it will benefit the channel because it will mean that I won't have to go on those type of breaks from the channel. And I think also to put it in this context as well, remember, so 2020 I didn't do any watch-alongs really. I think I did 2 for one weekend just to test if I was still feeling it, if I was still in the mood to do them in the future. And of course I came back to doing them for this year. The last time I did them on a mostly full-time basis was 2019. And in 2019, if I'm not wrong, we had, was it 19 races or 20 races? This season we've had, what? By the end it'll be 22 or 23. So that's the difference really between now and 2019 is the races are increasing. And I think again, this new plan, this new schedule that I'll be on will work out better for me health-wise. Saying that, next season I will still be doing plenty of race watch-alongs and qualifying watch-alongs. There will be certain races I do miss, but there's not going to be many of them, guys. So don't get too worried. I'm going to be doing quite a lot of streams still. Rambo saying Toto just said in interview with Jensen Button on Sky that they're bringing out the spicy equipment for the next race. There is a new rear wing test that the FIA are bringing because Red Bull said that Mercedes' rear wing in Qatar was flexing or something like that. So, yeah, there is a new rear wing test coming to the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix, and we'll see if Mercedes get caught up in that. Let me see if there's any other comments here to read out. Blue Flag Alpha. Next track looks like Singapore could be dominated by Mercedes. I haven't really looked at the track layout. I mean, the new Jeddah circuit is on the F1 game, but I haven't tried it on the F1 game yet, so I can't really say. I know Nibs told me that it is, a decent track. And you have to, in his words, not mine, you have to basically cut the corners to get a good time around there. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But I know Nib was saying, I'm not sure actually if he said this on stream last weekend or the weekend before, that even though it should the layout suit Mercedes, the tarmac, the surface will be very dirty and dusty, which could suit Red Bull. So we'll see. But I think we'll move on to the rest of the field. Like I said, make sure to stick around to the end, guys, so you can get again, keep up to date with what my schedule will be for the final 2 races, because I've got plenty to announce when it comes to that. We'll start off with Aston Martin, who, for the first time in a while, had a really good race. Lance Stroll finishing in 6th place. Also, got to put him up there as one of the drivers of the day. Great performance by him. I don't think anyone at Aston Martin thought a top 6 was possible in this Grand Prix, but they got it with Lance Stroll, again proving that he is definitely a very nifty driver in that midfield pack. So great drive by Lance, of course, great start as he normally does. Sebastian Vettel, though, given that Stroll got such a good result, and considering that Vettel had a good grid position and had such a poor start, you're wondering, coming out of this race now, if Vettel had not had that poor start, where would he have finished? Could he have been up there in 4th or 5th place? Possibly. You never know. But yeah, the start, really, I mean, even though he did finish in P10, Sebastian, which is not that bad considering the start he had, and he dropped back very low, down the order. I think he dropped, was it 9 or 10 positions on the first lap or something like that. I think he will be a bit gutted about today, because I think he probably feels as though there was a lot more on offer today for himself. But yeah, good race for Aston Martin. They score 9 points in the Constructors. Not going to help them finish any higher, of course, because they're nowhere near the teams ahead, really, in the championship. So Aston Martin are not really going to finish any higher than P7. But at least they had a good race today. And like I said, probably the first good race with both cars they've had in quite a while. Probably since the first half of the season, if I'm being honest there. AlphaTauri next. AlphaTauri, great grid position. They looked phenomenal in practice. Pierre Gasly was great in qualifying, getting in 4th place, and started the race on the front row, believe it or not, given the results you're seeing on the left-hand side of your screen. But ended up finishing in P11, and that is down to a couple of factors. One, that AlphaTauri today just wasn't that quick. Wasn't as quick as the Alpine, of course. Wasn't as quick as, Perez in the Red Bull. Norris and the McLaren looked much quicker. And in the end, it looked as though the Ferraris and Stroll were quicker than Gasly. And also, I think the second factor is that the strategy, again, similar to Perez, the strategy of Gasly for AlphaTauri wasn't that great, going on to a 2-stop with him. And I actually think, considering what we saw from Alonso and Ocon on their 1-stop races, even though they did have a bit of worry towards the end, would the tyres get to the end, I think Gasly should have gone for a 1-stop race. Maybe they couldn't, maybe because they were taking too much out of the tyres compared to other teams, but I think they should have tried for a 1-stop. And I do think they pitted way too early in the Grand Prix. They pitted on like lap 13, lap 14. That's very early to be pitting, considering the way the track is and just the way the race happened today. It was very early pit stop for Gasly and really set him back from then on in. I mean, didn't really, when he was on fresh tyres at the end as well, didn't really get after Vettel and the 2 Ferraris and Stroll ahead. So, yeah, disappointing for Gasly. Tsunoda in 13th, also disappointing for him. I think it might have been also the same case with him. I'm not quite sure how many stops Tsunoda actually did, because I didn't really pay that much attention to Yuki Tsunoda. But if it was a 2-stop as well, then yeah, they just got it wrong there. Did AlphaTauri on the strategy there, but unfortunately for them, Alpine have gone and got the big result, 3rd and 5th. That's 25 points in total for Alpine, meaning that AlphaTauri, despite I think being the better team this season on a consistent basis and probably having the faster car consistently over the season, that means that AlphaTauri are going to finish behind Alpine in the championship, which, like I said, I don't think is deserved to a big effect on Alpine's end. But yeah, AlphaTauri, like I said, the quicker car, but they just not got the job done when it mattered. And for Alpine, yeah, great job today. Esteban Ocon, I'll mention him first. Great drive from him, finishing in P5. One of the rare races, actually, in the last few where Ocon has actually, gained from what he's done in qualifying. So good there for Esteban Ocon, because normally he does tend to either maintain position or drop back. from what he does in qualifying. But he, had a good race today, did the Frenchman in the Renault-powered Alpine. And, of course, we'll get on to now Fernando Alonso. What a drive from Fernando. Had his best qualifying since he returned, of course, for 2021. What a start to the race he had. That was classic Fernando Alonso. Somehow, some way, getting his way past on the first lap, which he always has, had a great talent at doing. Great there, getting past Gasly, and then got into third place. And then whilst Gasly and Norris and Perez and who else was in there? I think maybe Ocon and the Ferraris as well. Once they were having their scraps and holding each other up, that allowed Alonso on the soft tyre to pull a gap. To the point, actually, where compared to Norris and Bottas, who were 4th and 5th before Alonso pitted for the first and only time, Alonso was 10 seconds clear of Bottas and setting personal best lap times on the soft compound tyre, which is incredible because the soft compound tyre example, for example, with Gasly and Norris, was nowhere near as good in good condition as what Alonso's tyres were in. So great job there by Fernando for being so quick and keeping his tyres in such good nick when it mattered most when it came to the pit stop phase. And then, good pit stop for Alonso. Did get passed by Perez, but then Perez, of course, had to pit again. Red Bull gave him too little time to catch up to Fernando. Got to say, though, Fernando's lap times in the last 15 laps were very, very good. He wasn't actually lapping that slowly compared even to Hamilton and Verstappen before Verstappen, of course, pitted to get the fastest lap point at the very end. So Fernando Alonso, great job. Again, proving, like he has a few times this season, that if that Alpine was up at the sharp end of the grid, that Fernando Alonso is absolutely good enough to be fighting with, I think, Hamilton and Verstappen still. Fernando Alonso still at a very elite level, just needs a better car, and hopefully he will get that in 2022. Great job there for Fernando Alonso. Great to see him on the podium. And by the way, that's his first podium in 7.5 years. If you told me in 2014 he would not see the podium again for 7.5 years, I would have advised you were put in a psychiatric hospital. But, considering the cars he's been in, it has been a very tough road to this point for Fernando. Like I said, he's had some great races this season. The Hungarian Grand Prix, for example, where he finished in 4th place and helped his teammate massively win that Grand Prix by holding up Lewis Hamilton, who was flying through the field so quickly until he met Fernando Alonso for a few laps. So, had a great race there. Was it Silverstone? He had a great race where he finished in, was it 7th or 8th? It was a very good race there. And I think Russia as well, he finished in 4th or 5th there. So he's had some very good races this season. Hopefully we'll see a bit more of this next season and on a more consistent basis. And hopefully the Alpine car is actually more so to the level it was when they were Renault last year. Because if they were, I think Alonso would be one of the top 5 or 6 in the championship right now. But I think Alonso is 10th or 11th or around that area. So, Alpine, great job, and they pretty much guarantee 5th place in the Constructors' Championship. Now, for the final couple teams, Alfa Romeo, there's no point talking about them, is there? They were quicker than Haas and Williams, but no quicker than anyone else. That's all you can really say. Kimi had a decent start, but that was it. And for Williams, bit of a disappointing way to end the race with 2 tyre failures. Very unusual and a bit worrying with Latifi that he had a tyre failure when Latifi said that, that his tyres felt fine, didn't feel like they were on the edge of that. No vibrations or anything like that. So a bit worrying there. But Williams, they're just coasting really, aren't they, to the end of the season. They know they're going to finish 8th in the championship. And they're just really knocking the races down, waiting till next year where hopefully, with those extra development tokens, they've, hopefully made a good car for next year to really be competitive. But yeah, there you go. That's Williams. And of course, Haas F1 were the slowest team. We're not at the absolute back in terms of the results because, of course, Russell had his puncture. But of course, Mazepin still finishes last because Mazepin can't have nice things. But there you go. That is your 2021 Qatar Grand Prix. Not guitar as in the instrument. Qatar Grand Prix. And I'll just quickly read out some final comments in the chat before we head off. And also, again, make sure to stick around till the end so I can update you guys as to the content that is going to be coming for the Saudi Arabia and Abu Dhabi Grand Prix as well. Astro Stevo saying Alonso done brilliantly today, well deserved, didn't expect that. Blue Flag Alpha saying Old Fox still got it, as interestingly Red Bull and Christian Horner, are they going to the Red Bull hospitality or the FIA steward's office? I don't know. I can check Twitter in a moment. Let me look at some other comments here. Blade says, I wish I could play the F1 game, but I have exams/prelims in 1 week. Good luck with that, by the way. And he also says, also great to see you doing what you can, Chaz. Glad you are well, mate. Thank you very much for that. Astro Stevo says, AlphaTauri really disappointed today after flattering in quali. Expected them to do a lot better. They do tend to do that this season. AlphaTauri. Plenty of times they've been even with both cars, great, and then in the race they've just not quite got the result that they deserve. They have a few times. For example, Gasly in Holland, he qualified 4th and finished 4th. I think Mexico was another example of that. But yeah, this weekend, nowhere near good enough. Let me just check Twitter then to see what this Horner business is all about. So, Christian Horner summoned to the stewards for comments made that could have caused moral injury or loss to the FIA/sport in general and misconduct towards officials. What's he said? Can anyone tell me what he said? That's a bit strong. Has he ever made comments that could have caused moral injury or loss to the sport? Was he said that, Mercedes and the FIA are in bed together? Is that what he's said? You say if he said anything like that, maybe before the race. Let me have a look. Just having a look, see if anything with Horner. No, can't see anything. Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand that, if I'm being honest. What's he said? That's what I want to know. The only thing I can think of is he's tried to insinuate that, that Mercedes and the FIA are in tandem together, which of course would be mental. And yeah, the actual regulation, by the way, from the sporting code is any words, deeds, or writings that have caused moral injury or loss to the FIA, its bodies, its members, or executive officers, and more generally on the interest of motorsport and on the values defended by the FIA. I can't see anything about what he said unless he's I don't know what he said. Oh, here you go. This might be it. So 3 hours ago, Christian Horner says to Sky Germany that Red Bull is very disappointed by the verdict in regards to Max's penalty for this race, where he was given a 5-place penalty for going too quickly in the yellow flag zone. Christian Horner says to Sky Germany, this was 3 hours ago, so this was before the race started, that Red Bull is very disappointed by the verdict and that it is a screw-up, quote, between the FIA and their marshals. He said race control declared it green, but then a marshal decided to wave a yellow flag. I'm guessing that's what it is. If that's what it is, though, then that's pretty soft, I have to say. It's not like he was, calling for war or anything. But if that's what it's for, then that's pretty weak, I have to say. And the wording, by the way, if that sporting code is a bit strong in it, moral injury. Not sure there's any such thing as a moral injury. But there you go. But guys, yeah, that's it for the 2021 Qatar Grand Prix weekend. I'm just going to quickly, before I get onto the scheduled content that's going to be coming your way for the next couple races, or the final couple races, of course, just going to quickly read out the Drivers and Constructors Championship standings. So, Max Verstappen, like I said, he leads by 8 points from Lewis Hamilton, and Verstappen I still think, just about in a favourite position, if you could say that. Bottas in third, Perez in fourth. Bottas is 13 points clear of Perez. Then it's Norris in fifth, Leclerc sixth, only 1 point separating those two. Carlos Sainz is P7, Daniel Ricciardo 8th, Gasly 9th, and Alonso is now up to P10. Or was he already in 10th? Oh, he was already in P10 in the Drivers' Championship, but he is closer to the drivers ahead, so that's the top 10 there. And then in the Constructors' Championship, Mercedes are leading by 5 points going into the final two races. We'll see if Red Bull can gain any more on Mercedes, but I still think Mercedes have just about got the advantage there. Ferrari are third, and Ferrari are now almost 40 points clear of McLaren. It's now 39 points, is it? Let me just check. It is 39.5 points. Ferrari are leading over McLaren. So yeah, Ferrari have basically got third now. Alpine, like I said, they are P5 and they are 25 points clear of AlphaTauri. So Alpine now essentially in fifth, with AlphaTauri sixth, and then Aston Martin seventh, Williams eighth, Alfa Romeo ninth, and Haas, of course, in 10th. There you go, guys. That is your championship standings going into the final two races. Now, before I go, let me get into what the plan is for the final couple races in terms of content on this channel. So, when it comes to after the final race and the content between, say, the end of the final race and Christmas, there is a couple things I've got planned that hopefully I can get out in time. I'll get onto that probably at the next Grand Prix, where I'm, further along in that process. But yeah, with the next final two Grand Prix, qualifying day in Saudi Arabia, there will be no content. There will be no, qualifying watch along, practice watch along at all. But in 2 weeks from now, race day in Saudi Arabia, I will be back for a proper race day in terms of content. So you'll have a race preview at 2:30 p.m. UK time. Race watch along will start at 5 p.m. UK time and will probably go until 7:15 probably UK time, most likely. And then the race reaction stream will be probably 20 to 25 minutes, maybe half an hour at most after the race watch along finishes. So 7:30, 7:45, something like that UK time. And then for Abu Dhabi, in regards to the plan for content for that Grand Prix, the final race, very dependent on what is going on with the championship. If Max Verstappen, let's say, wins the championship in Saudi Arabia, which is most unlikely, I have to say, I think Lewis will keep it going definitely until the final race. But if it is over, then for Abu Dhabi, all I'll do is a race reaction stream like I've done for this weekend. But if the championship is going down to the final race, then in Abu Dhabi, there'll be a qualifying and practice watch along on the Saturday, and then on the race day, a race preview, race watch along, and a race reaction stream. So most likely, you're getting 2 race watch alongs and a qualifying and practice watch along for the final race as well. And then hopefully, like I said, a couple videos then coming out after the final race and before Christmas. So, yeah, plenty coming up. Of course, no more content for the rest of this month. But the first or next piece of content on this channel will be the 5th of December. That'll be the next piece of content on this channel for the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. Again, race preview, 2:30 p.m. UK time. Race watch along will be 5 p.m. UK time. And then the race reaction will be probably sometime between 7:30 and 8 p.m. UK time as to when we get started with that stream. So hopefully you guys come along for that and come along for what could be, you never know, could be the decider in this intense World Championship fight. Thank you guys, by the way, for coming along to this stream. Great to have you here as always. And if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe for that final couple pieces of content coming up for the final couple races of 2021. Be great to have you along for what could be a thrilling end to a thrilling Formula 1 season. Bottom right of the screen, you can click subscribe right there, or just go to my channel page and do it there. Whilst you're there, hit the notifications bell. And as well, smash the like button, share this video and channel every way you can. And don't forget as well to join my Discord server, link below in the description, I believe. That is the best place for notifications for my videos and streams. And also, we have almost 500 people in that server. So it's a great server to interact with other people, maybe like-minded when it comes to motorsport. Nice community over there. And would be great, of course, to have you. But guys, until the next piece of content, again, 2 weeks from now for the race day in Saudi Arabia, where we'll be taking you through the entire race day, a preview, a watch along and a reaction to the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. It has been me, Shazza HD. Goodbye.